Hey, everybody, welcome to the Agency Side podcast. I am your host, Justin Levinson, and today I'm joined by Dan Portrait, founder and CEO of Kamp Grizzly, the Portland based creative agency known for blurring the line between advertising and entertainment. Their work for brands like Adidas, Apple Plus, and Uber Eats have become known for big immersive storytelling events, including the Con Lion, winning Uber Eats horror short, Don't Run Out, and the viral Severance Cube activation at Grand Central. Dan was also named to Adweek's Creative 100, and it's so great to have you here today, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Justin. Appreciate it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm excited to get into conversation. Can you start with? I'd love to know about your origin story, how you got into this
Yeah.
particular world.
Yeah, for sure. So, I was out of college with a group of like-minded creatives trying to kind of find our way in a tough time in the ad industry. And we just decided to connect some of our skills. And originally, we kind of formed a media studio, around digital cinema. We were actually focused on motion design initially. It was a really easy way for us to create content without leaving the studio and without the production dollars that it took. We were able to create some really exciting things. And at that time, it's been 20 years, but at that time, we were busting stuff out in After Effects, and it was Modest Mouse was winning the VMAs for Float On. And,
Yeah.
it's dating things, but it was like a new technology. And so it was kind of like this cool convergence of us hopping on a new technology, putting our skills from audio to design and video together to create some content. And then Portland really just embraced us and gave us a lot of opportunity at that point, because when you're here, it's Sneaker City, and between Nike and Adidas, and the list actually goes on from there. Under Armour comes to town eventually. Brooks is in proximity. We've got boot makers in town. Just a lot of that work was really exciting work. It was really fun work. And it was also work that helped us to build a real, there are a lot of cities that we could have come up in that just wouldn't have provided that kind of content for us to build around.
Yeah.
That's where it started, making some internal videos, some external videos, working with the sneaker companies, and just starting to build the studio. And eventually, we started to hit a bit of a ceiling. We added production, which was a huge addition for us, and it's still a big part of what we do. But just being a production company in Portland is tricky.
Yeah.
LA's right down the road. And, it's just the competition kind of we found ourselves in a place where, especially at that age, big gigs were going somewhere else. We were
Yeah.
finding ourselves kind of stuck in a murky space where, we were, enjoying the work, but it just wasn't quite fulfilling. And I think the ethos here was just been growth and challenge and risk and pushing it and seeing, kind of how far we could take it. So, we started to add experience at that point, and just kind of going beyond just creating video and film and looking to get into new spaces. So experience was something that we started to tap into. And eventually we added strategy too, and kind of started to build out what is now the agency, something that's not just about kind of execution, but it's about strategy and how brands can be more effective. And we're doing a lot of bringing all those elements together now. So from content to experience and strategy, and creating some really special things.
Yeah, I love that. I looked at your LinkedIn page, and obviously you've been doing this for almost 20 years now. What were you doing anything, but did you study this in school? Did you study
Yeah,
film, or
yeah.
what was your
I
background
did.
there?
I did. So I went through the journalism program at the University of Oregon and studied at Allen Hall in the advertising focus, which was an awesome start. And it really set me off. I'm excited. I'm getting a chance to go down and speak with some of the students in the near future here. But it was a great start. And honestly, that group of people that I talked about, kind of coming together and matching skills and just putting that initial media studio together. Those were people that I met at the University of Oregon, actually not in the advertising program, but just friends of mine. And, we were doing a lot of, I can see you're a musician. We were doing a lot of band promo, building websites, flyers, music videos. And so the passion was there. And I think the advertising program at U of O just kind of a light went on that just gave me an opportunity to stay in a creative space and also find a way to eat and
Yeah.
put a roof over my head, because that was a necessity. That was definitely like a big part of the situation. So yeah, it started there and it has evolved here, and we're still doing stuff that we really like. And I think back on those days of like creating those flyers, those music videos, those band T-shirts, whatever it was at the time, and like you know we're we're still playing in a lot of spaces here that like are inspiring and things that we actually love as an agency. So that's cool. That's really cool. It keeps the fire hot.
I don't know where I had read, but it said something about you being very inspired in Portland in the '90s and like the music and like the all the culture that was
Mm.
during that time.
It
What
was a
was it
cool time.
like? Yeah, what was that time kind of? What was it like for someone who like me who hasn't didn't actually I've never been to Portland before, so I'm interested.
Is that right? Yeah. I mean, when I've been the camp was founded in Portland, like I mentioned, like about 20 years ago. City's changed a lot. And, but at the time, like, I think there was just an awesome DIY culture going on here. Like, it really felt like the kind of place where, like, we could open a studio and, like, actually have a chance of like making it. And I think that was kind of like, I think, rooted in a lot of, maybe like a post grunge era, a post garage band kind of vibe. But, like landing in Portland 20 years ago, really, kind of like collaboration was alive and opportunity was here. And everybody was just kind of embracing that DIY spirit. So it was easy for us to tap in.
Love it. How many people are at Camp Grizzly now? Are employed by you guys?
We're about 85 full time. We also like maintain a strong freelance and contract contingent as well.
Yep.
And so, with office, our main office is in Portland here. That's where I am today. But we also have had an office in New York for about a decade now. And we just moved into actually a new space there in the Domino Sugar factory. And the New York team is growing really nicely right now. It's a really exciting time out there.
Yeah, maybe you can walk me through how it scaled from just I guess it was just you and how many people was it at the inception?
It it was like really 3 people when it first
Yeah,
started. Like, I was focused on design and art direction. We had an editor in-house that taught himself After Effects, and then at the time, my brother actually is in music and he was, like, working on the music and audio side to kind of, like,
very
complete the
cool.
projects like that. So now it's a much bigger thing.
Yeah. What was sort of like the I guess what was sort of like the next, you know,
Production.
uh production was where
Yeah.
it started developing? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we went from being like, okay, cool, like we're creating a lot of cool content in studio, as I mentioned, like, which was just like incredible for us because that was just our time. And we were young and we were hungry and we were happy to be just creating. So like we could just pour all of our hours into like our videos to like really dial them up. Right. And production is expensive. And it was expensive then and it still like can be expensive now. But eventually we started to feel like, okay, cool. We want to be bringing more live action elements into our work. So we added production at that time, and that opened up like, a really awesome era and a ton of opportunity for us. I was directing at the time, and we're editing in house. We started adding 3D artists in house too to like kind of beef up the motion team. So it was like, okay, cool. Now we're producing, directing, editing, finishing with some composite and some 3D as well. And it was like, it was kind of like contained. It was all like, it was one stop for that. And as I mentioned, like, eventually it was just also like we're looking at the bigger picture and just kind of getting interested in like just how to express like or how to kind of tackle briefs that maybe video wasn't the best option for, like maybe content wasn't immediately like what it was supposed to be about. And that's kind of like when we started to be like, oh well, what if we were experience, or what if we were like throwing parties or events, like what if we could just break the mold a little bit out of just like kind of video, and start to explore that. And we loved it. We had so much fun doing that. I think it was like it wasn't just like a business move, but it was actually like part of our interests. It got us out of the studio. It got us on the ground. We're seeing people react in real time versus hunting through comments online.
Yeah. What was your
And it was
first what was your first experience that you guys did?
The
if you
first,
remember.
so the first experience that I remember was we were anniversarying a campaign that we had worked with Adidas Originals on in North America. The year before, we had done film and video. We had done like a broadcast spot, which was awesome, and it was I still love it. But we're kind of like coming back to anniversary that, and it was like, we don't want to make another film, like we don't want to make another commercial, and how do we do that? So we actually set up like a series of events. It was a concert with A-Rap Music and Snoop in LA with like on 2 day notice. We had a nail salon with Tiana Taylor that we launched in New York City. I was just watching one battle after another. She's so good, and I was just blown away. And I remember when she was so young, man. And then there was an activation with Danny Brown and a group of artists in Atlanta, and they all happened like about the span of a week. It was like, bam, we're popping up here, we're popping up there. Like, what's happening next? And it was just really eye opening. And I think like being on the ground and like just getting the feel and understanding that like, you know, even like a great commercial is a 30-second, a 60-second, 90, whatever. We're going to stretch out the content these days. But like the amount of time that we were getting to spend with people, like the amount of time and impact that the brand was having with people on the ground was just something that just the value was unbelievable. And the feeling and the lasting impression, that you can leave in those moments was really evident even at that time.
Yeah. Do you feel like the success you had with Adidas before was the reason they gave you the opportunity to do experiential? Because it seems like you didn't have a lot of experience maybe doing that at that time. What,
Yeah.
led them to putting that trust in you? Thanks for tuning in, folks. This episode is brought to you by Coming Up Creative, a relationship-first boutique creative recruitment agency. We disrupt the creative ecosystem by running sophisticated, multi-channel campaigns with custom video and voice outreach that actually gets responses. We actively market the agencies and brands we represent to help them stand out to today's industry's top talent, all backed by real human connection and AI-powered targeting. If you're ready for a modern recruitment approach, visit www.comingupllc.com and get started today.
Well, I think we have always taken the risk of new challenge. And I think that the trust was built over, at that point, like we had been working with the originals team pretty consistently over time. And we had just come together as a really strong team. And like there was a lot of our production was super, super sharp. And we had learnings that we needed to like take on, like as we were kind of moving from like something as controlled as film production to something that was there. But we brought in the right people to do it. We added members to the team that had that expertise. But also like there was a reason that they brought that work to us. And it was because they wanted something different than what they were getting out of traditional event groups at the time.
Yeah, guess had
So
your own
just the
flavor.
POV, exactly. Like do it in a way that is not going to be like just maybe as traditional as what they had been experiencing.
That's cool. And did you get to hang out with Snoop Dogg at all?
Yeah, I've had the pleasure. I've had the pleasure
Nice.
over my career on many, many occasions
Yeah,
to
I
hang
bet
with the
this
dog.
this industry has probably connected you with a lot of really amazing people. Did you think you'd be connected with some of these people when you first, got started here?
No, yeah, definitely not. I think like there are still like kind of the essence of like that 17-year-old you like standing next to somebody like that is still it's still very real, even for our most seasoned talent cats in house like Yogi's one of our ECDs here. Yogi's like been around all of them, everybody, we all have at this point. And I think there's still a certain amount of just like, is this real? Like and it just keeps it fun.
That's cool. Is your brother still making music to the
Yeah,
assets you guys are making? Is he
yeah,
still part of the
yeah.
team?
No, my brother's still making lots of music, but as far as like his participation in camp, like the music just took off too much for camp. So he's doing his thing and we're doing ours and both finding some cool success along the way.
That's cool. I'm interested in, how you built up all of these clients. do you feel like it was just the good work that you're putting out led to new work, or did you have some strategy in winning, all these pitches?
Yeah. It's been really work focused for the most part. We added business development like a few years ago, and Peter Jasinski is running that for us just beautifully. I think for us, like to be real, we were really reluctant to get out there and sell. Like we just didn't feel like it was us for a long time. And it took us like the right person and the right approach to like kind of get us into a spot where we felt that. I think the other thing is I was talking to Tim Nutt about this at one point. Like, we wanted to be ready. Like we wanted to put the time in. We wanted to like actually get our chops up. We wanted to become those experts before we started to like move, kind of go outside. Right. And I think it really worked well for us because we stayed super focused on the work and we still do. I think like, we want people to know we're out there. We want to, we've raised the profile of the agency, but we've done it mostly through the work. I'm still participating in the project work, like on a day-to-day basis. And to be honest, that's what I like.
Yeah.
I have the agency is bigger now. We talked about the size now and we're setting a course and, thinking big picture. And I have an awesome team here that's working on strategy for where this whole thing's going. But at the same time, like just staying focused on the work, staying focused on like serving our clients and giving them stuff that's going to cut through for them and create success for them is the easiest way to create success for ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you think about like what's happened in the industry over the past like 5 years and that kind of like shake up where everybody's splitting, going different places. I think that had a lot to do with like, how we've built the roster as well. Like and it's not always like one, existing clients going somewhere else and you get the 2-for-1. It's mostly just the fact that people are looking for new things right now. People are dropping into new places and, they want to find new ways to kind of like be effective in their position and new partners to help them do that. And so
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of that like over the past few years.
Well, it's cool that you are still so hands-on involved. I know a lot of founders, they like to delegate and sort of just, sit on the sidelines, but it's cool that you got your hands in it. And you mentioned that you have sort of like some strategy team that's kind of looking for the future. Any sort of insights on what you guys might be pursuing, or you're more than welcome to keep it on the DL as well?
Well, I mean, it's been 20 years, right? Like, so we've reached another milestone. And I think like taking a moment to kind of like not actually, it's a little bit about reflection. There's been a little bit of like, okay, cool. Like, let's take a moment, pause, like look back on what we've done. But I think the 20 years for us is really about like, where are we taking it next? Like, that's actually been the more exciting part is not like kind of being like, hey, here's the resume. Like, here's the book, but like, what do we want to do next? And I think what's exciting is like, the industry, again, it's like beyond everybody switching jobs around COVID and all that, like we're going through some transition right now. Like
Yeah.
there is a lot of that. And I think what's exciting for us is that, we feel like we're actually in a position to really take advantage of that. Like, we're nimble, we're able to shift and we always have. We've evolved with, really what customers want, with what audiences want, with and what consumers want, like over the years to like stay relevant and find our place, find our workplace in culture. And so like kind of like as we look forward, we're noticing some real problems for the big dogs right now. Like they're trying to solve like some big issues, and we need them to survive. Like we need the industry to stay strong, so we're rooting for that. But we also see that like where we happen to sit in a place where we've got creative and production in house, where we are creating incredible content and incredible experience. Like these things seem to be at the core of what people are trying to get to, and in fact, very intertwined. Like we think experience and content like actually live together. They're one idea, and they only work when you bring them together. So what we're looking to do is double down on that and grow further into that space. And I think there are also some opportunities for us as well, like as we take on that growth to think about, what might add to that. I mentioned, hey, like we started off motion design, we added production, we added experience, we've added strategy. And I think for us right now, like we're looking to see like, what's the next piece that's going to help to like kind of, um, just make us more effective and make our work stronger.
Yeah, I love that. Is there any like how is the technology and AI shifting, your workflow and how you guys are doing?
I think workflow wise, like, I mean, AI is just, it's coming on so fast, man. It's just coming on so fast. And I think like this shop's always been about like just never becoming the dinosaur. We want to stay up. We want to keep pushing and using all the levers that we have to pull, like date back to like when I was talking about like After Effects just lands and like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. What can we do with that? How can we use that tool? And I think we're finding good spaces for AI to like be an effective tool for us in draft, in concept, in spaces honestly that clients don't want to spend money. If I'm being honest, like in some of those zones, like just ways to be more efficient. But I think like the other thing about AI that is really exciting for someone that's very passionate about experience and IRL and doing things in the real world is that obviously AI is also from when we look at content, when we look at like, first of all, social comes in and becomes a giant black hole, right? It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. And we're trying to stuff it and it's getting bigger and bigger. Now you add AI to the mix. And now what we're talking about is something that is becoming very like muddy and losing meaning,
Yeah.
economic principles of supply and demand. Well, we have an endless supply of content thanks to AI now. But like, what will that do to demand? And so I think for us, like, what's exciting about AI is that there are parts of that we can use to make our work better, but also like it reinforces experience, it reinforces IRL. It actually will heighten, these kind of like moments that happen in the real world, and I'm really excited about that. And I think we're already seeing that from in sports and entertainment and just in cultural in general. Like, people want to be there. People want to experience it. They want to touch it. They want to feel it. They want to go to the shows. They want to go like to these brand experiences. And there's kind of like some really interesting gas that's getting thrown on that fire right now as kind of like a byproduct, I think, of like this AI domination.
Yeah. Are there any in particular tools that you guys have found helpful?
I think like previs. So when we're like working in previs, like the teams are using a few different platforms to just create images, mostly in Selling, to be honest. So, we have a really, really strong design team here. But like, as I was mentioning earlier, like, that upfront where it's just like, hey, like, we're just focused on an idea here. Like, we just want to talk first about an idea. When we're talking about ideas, like we found, platforms that really help us, whether, early it was Midjourney, Sora, Claude, like we're working our way through all these. But the idea of it being kind of like an effective and simple tool for previs in a conceptual sense, that's where it's played its greatest part here. As soon as we get past that idea phase, design is taking the reins and moving that forward. And design is still informing some of that previs as well, alongside AI tools. But it's actually been really cool because I think like what is most important is the idea. And even for our teams, what I've noticed is that it actually frees them up to focus more on the idea than just the burden of having to put together the visualization of that idea. And it forces us to challenge those ideas in stronger ways. It allows us to grind those ideas and not to feel that ticking clock of, well, shit, we've got a presentation in 3 days and I have to get moving on design in order to have something that is even digestible. So that's how it's fitting in right now, and it's cool. It's cool.
That's
It
cool. Yeah, I'm
works.
always interested in what is actually providing an ROI for creative agencies because I know there's just so many tools and things to try. You try a new thing every day. So yeah, I'm always interested in what is working and what is really not working
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's where it's fitting in for us.
great, cool. Yeah, you guys are really doing a tremendous amount of stuff. I guess just as like personally, like outside of the work world, what do you what are some of your hobbies and things that you like to do?
Well, I created camp as a creative playground for myself. So much of what I love is happening here. And like, that's also happening in our gallery. Like when we're hosting shows in the gallery and bringing artists in to like kind of, do their thing here. We have a publishing arm that kind of came out of a magazine that we put on, for years. We published a magazine called Cult Classic, an arts and culture magazine. And as we kind of like retired the magazine, we spun it into Camp ABC, which is a little bit of a book publishing scenario that we're into. We just launched another one. I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, I'd love to.
And so, I think like that's it. And then, I got 3 kids, man. So I love being with my kids and with my fam but I'm in the work here. Like I'm 20 years in, I'm still like at the office every morning at 7:50 and I'm still doing my thing. And just have a lot of passion for the place. So, you know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I get it. But like the reality is that I like work to create a place here where there is a lot of play involved,
Yeah, I
to
understand
be real.
that. What are the ages of your kids?
Well, I have a 16-year-old daughter who's a sophomore in high school, and I have twins that are 13. So,
Wow.
so we're through the thick of like at least of like everybody's feeding themselves and like doing their thing, and now it's like developing them as bigger people. So
Yeah, do
it's
you
cool.
feel like they could be are they inspired to follow in your footsteps at all?
My big girl is just an incredible writer, just really great. And we were actually just last night talking about like you know, how maybe journalism could be like an interesting path. And, I'm like, hey, like, do you want to? I'm not here to push my thing on them. Like, I'm
Yeah.
really not. But yes. So my big girl's at my youngest daughter, Elle, is probably the most creative person I've ever met in my life. She's making all the time. Her mind is just incredible in that sense. My son's an athlete, so he really is into a lot of the work that we're doing in sport.
Mm,
So I could definitely see that. I could definitely
that's
see it.
cool.
It's fun to get to talk to them or talk about them
Yeah.
in this space. I haven't had an opportunity to do that, but it's super fun. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, definitely. I have 2 kids. I'm always two young girls. One's 3 and one's 6, so I'm out of the diaper stage, which is good,
Yeah.
but it's still, they're still young. They getting dressed, getting going in the morning is still it's still a thing. But yeah,
So sweet though. So sweet though at that age, man. So
yeah,
sweet.
they still look are kind of cuddly and
Yes.
they want to but they're also kind of I'm starting to see what they're good at as well. My oldest is, she's has some real talent for playing piano because I'm a pianist and she's sitting
Okay,
down there
cool.
and she's reading. She's got good time and she knows her hand position. So, far better than I did at 6. Or
Hmm.
she's 7 now. But when I started taking piano lessons, I was very disoriented. I couldn't really read notes. I was very dyslexic. It took me almost till I was a teenager to really just make sense of it. I don't know why it just didn't click, but she really sees the field, which is
That's
cool.
cool.
And then my youngest, she actually has really good pitch. She sings in tune, and she's been singing those Frozen songs, and she belts them, and they're like in tune. And I'm like, as a musical guy, I'm very like. I really hear sharp and flat. Like I almost hear it like in terms of like if you were looking at the wavelength, like sense sharp or flat to like fix it to make it in tune, and it's like right in key, and it's really impressive because I wish I could sing. I hear the pitch but it doesn't come out of my mouth in tune, but when I hear
Right.
somebody else in tune I'm like, this is amazing. So yeah, I
That's cool that they're like both like into music because clearly like that's a
yeah,
big part of your life. So it's exciting. Like when you start to be like, hey, we have some like common
yeah,
interests. Like,
yeah, it is
like
cool.
let's talk about those things. My
Yeah, and it
son has
feels
been like cracking into piano in the evenings. And
cool.
like he just kind of like no lessons, no prompting, like was just like, hey, like I've been thinking at school. So now I like come into his room at night and he's like just locked in and he's just teaching and by ear, like finding things. And obviously, like YouTube is playing in. I
Yeah.
picked him up an MPC because I was
Oh,
like,
cool.
yeah, hey, dude, like what, you're into this. Like maybe do you want to try this on too? So
Fun.
anyway, it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the best creators of music have, been self-taught or just kind of. I mean, Paul
Hmm.
McCartney couldn't read music, even though his father was a trained musician. He just played it by ear. I think some of I remember the magic of sitting at the piano and just playing like a C major, C note, and then E, and then the G, and putting those 3 notes together and hearing that C major chord, and then making the E to the E flat and hearing the
Hmm.
minor chord and feeling like this one feels happy. this one feels sad. I wonder why that is. But you kind of like just intuitively can feel what is right, I think, in music. I mean, our ears are very trained to hear like traditional like cadences, like 2 5 1. Like you're used to like we want our ear wants like resolution. There's only 12 notes, right? So there's only so many things you can do with them. Um,
Yeah.
but anyway, I just think that
Are you music house? Like, are you like in my house? Like, it's music all the time. Like, I don't do quiet space as well.
yeah,
Even this office, like inside here right now for the podcast, I'm like, where's the music? And we're
100%.
we're always it's like Sonos throughout the house, music on all the time. Like,
Yep.
that's awesome.
Same way here. Like when I'm working, I have the classical music going, so I'm not like too
Mhm.
distracted, but I'm like comfortable.
Mhm.
When I'm at the gym, I've got like I don't know, I've been listening to a lot of like the new Tame Impala, like fairly
Okay.
recent record. So I got
Yeah.
some stuff to
I
hype
like
me
those
up.
first two songs a lot. Once they get to Dracula,
Yeah,
I'm kind of like, I don't love Dracula, but I like those first two songs. I think
yeah.
the dance vibes are cool.
One of the songs further down on the album called it's like a piece of heaven. It's like I'm in your room, and like it's just a really beautiful composition. You can hear that like the synthesis. He's just a real wizard when it comes to like just those textures that
Mhm.
he gets with all that stuff.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I mean I'm the same as you. We got music going all the time, and it's just it's a universal language. It
Right.
keeps us all going.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Dan, I really appreciate you being on the pod today and having this
Yeah.
conversation and offering some value to the community. And great to talk to about some music and about your kids too. I really love what you guys are doing, and hope to
Yeah.
keep chatting with you in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Justin. It's
Awesome, man.
it's been a pleasure.
All
It's
right.
been a
Well,
pleasure. Stay in
de-
touch.
definitely, man. Have a good rest of your weekend.
All right. Thanks a
All right,
lot.
man. Bye.
See you later.